All right, welcome to the Sports Mashup number 75, August 31st, 2022 is the date. The final one of August and September is really full force football, some preseason training camp type stuff for the NBA and the NHL, MLB pennant race, all of that stuff. So a good month, a good next 4 months of sports coming up once we flip the calendar in August, which is one of the worst sports months. So unless you're a big golf fan and you like baseball in August, which can go either way. Anyway, let's start in the NBA. A little bit of heat coming back between the Knicks and Jazz on Donovan Mitchell talks, but those are apparently over as they locked up R.J. Barrett, 4-year rookie extension worth up to $120 million. I think the first Knicks draft pick to get a significant contract from the Knicks like this in at least 20 years. So a fairly big deal.
I thought he'd get an extension. I mean, he's been somewhat consistent for them, but I didn't expect 30 mil a year.
Well, I think there's definitely more opportunity for a guy like him to to make him like the face of the franchise. You know, he's a top pick. Was he the third pick, I believe, behind Zion and John Morant? So I think that's they want to get this done because he's been good.
I think they just got to figure out if he's a 1 or a 2.
Well, I think the idea through everything here for them was to make him a 3 with Donovan Mitchell at the 2, with Brunson at the 1. But I still don't think the door is closed on Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks. I don't think that it's closed. I think the Knicks are saying that, but I think there's a chance the Jazz come crawling back because the Jazz are probably looking for an outrageous price given the fact that Minnesota completely overpaid for Rudy Gobert. So I'm sure that price is eventually going to come down, you would think.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't hear more of them testing the market or him testing the market like KD did.
Yeah, I don't know how far this will go, but it'll be interesting to see. I still think the Knicks could be involved in that. The Nuggets hired ex-player Andre Miller as their G League coach. I saw this earlier. I had to look him up to make sure because I had his face in my head, and I was like, okay, I think it's this guy.
Yeah, I was correct, he's the same one who he faked like the coach was going to call the timeout, and he went and made the layup.
Yeah, I remember him. Kind of looks like Sean Livingston a little bit, but you know.
Yeah. The Nets finalizing a 1-year deal for Markieff Morris.
Yeah, I don't really know what he is at this point. His brother, much better player, much more success in the NBA. I don't know what Markieff Morris is at this point, except for maybe an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I mean, he's just adding depth into their size, I think.
Yeah.
And then Davidson, I mean, this is more college basketball, but Davidson retires Steph Curry's number 30 and puts him in their Hall of Fame.
And wasn't there a story about this where he had to get a degree from there first before they could do this? I think that was a story last year.
Which I thought it was his senior year. I thought was when he.
I think it was junior year. I think he did online classes there and finished it out so they could retire and put him in the Hall of Fame. I think if I'm remembering right, I think that's the story. So,
I think a lot of these guys do that leave after their junior year. They still go back and take summer classes or something to get their degree.
Eventually, yeah. And there's not going to be a player in Davidson basketball history that's even close to Steph Curry. So
yeah, like one and done players probably don't get a degree at all. But the guys who play 3 years are probably going back and taking summer classes.
Yep. Let's go over to the NFL. The season inching closer. This upcoming Thursday and this upcoming Sunday, well, next Thursday this Thursday, yes, is going to be the last Thursday and Sunday without football for a very long time. So that seems like significant news.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we'll have college football tomorrow, but
yeah, that is true. The Dolphins cut running back Sony Michel, and he quickly finds a new home with the Chargers. The Dolphins also released Mohamed Sanu, receiver.
Yeah, I mean, Sony Michel just won a Super Bowl ring with the Rams. Everyone thought he was never going to leave the Patriots.
He's turned out to be a little bit of a bust, I would say.
I think he just got stuck behind bigger running backs everywhere. New England, he was behind Rex Burkhead. James White, which they kind of have the same role. And who was the Patriots' other big running back they had?
When are we talking?
Like 2 years ago.
Was Damian Harris there 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, so then he goes to the Rams. They have Cam Akers, and
does he become the number 2 for the Chargers behind Eckler?
That's what they're thinking, because I mean they've had Joshua Kelly and these other running backs there for a couple of years, and they haven't really panned out. So I think you just have Eckler doing his thing, and then you have Josh Kelly to be your pounding back, and Sonny Michel to be your scat back.
They list Josh Kelly as the number 2 and Michelle as a 3, but I don't think that will be shown with the amount of carries. And they also have Isaiah Spiller, who is a rookie out of Texas A&M. Yeah, so he's got potential, I believe.
And now that Mohamed Sanu releasing, that could open up a spot for him for somewhere.
Yeah, I think he has a chance to go somewhere, no doubt.
I mean, would you take him in Green Bay?
Probably not. I think I'm set. I just think that the Packers have enough up front where you're going to have to trust the rookies at some point, and they're going to do that. And then you have Watkins, Cobb, and Lazard. So,
yeah, I guess you already have 3, and then your rookies. So,
and I think Romeo Dobbs is going to be really good. So we will find out. Aaron Donald's swinging of the helmets at practice versus the Bengals, which I hate to say it, this is a story that I just do not care about. I mean, I've just heard so much about it. It's like, why would we care this much about, number one, the fact that these happen every single time? Now, I know he's swinging helmets and he shouldn't be. Obviously, I think we all know that. But, like, they're never going to suspend, nor probably should they, the best player in the league for something that happened in preseason training camp.
Pat McAfee and, his crew went off about it, saying, like, what are they going to – they're not going to suspend him for any regular season games. What are they just going to say? He's not allowed to play in any preseason games? He's going to be like, all right, good. Thank you. I get a rest during the preseason? All right.
This is one of those stories that people are itching for the season to start, and the NFL is king in this country, and they're going to make a way bigger deal out of the story than they need to.
And I think it would have been worse if he would have hit somebody with a helmet who didn't have one on. But I think he only hit one guy with the helmet, and he was wearing one.
Yeah, this is not the same thing as what Myles Garrett did to Mason Rudolph.
I mean, I'm surprised they weren't wearing the...
That's true. The weird
the safety dome
a hat on their helmet. Yeah, so stupid.
Which wasn't it Jason Kelsey who came out and he had his all like bubble wrap, all huge?
I think so. Yeah.
Geno Smith gets the nod as a starting quarterback week 1 versus the Broncos.
My big question is, how bad is Drew Lock if he loses the job to Geno Smith,
who last year couldn't throw a ball further than 15 yards?
And this is the anti-NFL, because the NFL would have liked to see Drew Lock versus Russell Wilson week 1.
Yeah.
So if Geno gets mysteriously hurt in the next week,
how many quarterbacks are starting against their old team week 1?
Baker versus the Browns. I'm assuming if Flacco starts for the Jets, that's against the Ravens. Wilson versus that's at least 3. Let me see here. If I look at the schedule, I could probably figure this one out.
I mean, that's the ones I'm thinking of who were traded.
I think it might be only 3, but that's still a lot. Well, here's another storyline for a quarterback if you want that. Carson Wentz having to play the Jaguars in his first game of the season after a completely disastrous performance for the Colts against the Jaguars to end their season last year. That's a storyline.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Raiders and Chargers playing after that wild end of the season last year. The Raiders got in the playoffs, kicked the field goal instead of tying. That's a storyline. Bucks, Cowboys, God knows why that's even a game in week 1 or primetime game, but it is.
Didn't they play week 1 last year?
Yeah, they played the Thursday. So, yeah. Interesting.
And then the Eagles made a trade with the Vikings for a former first-round pick. Vikings receive wide receiver Jalen Reagor. Eagles receive a 2023 seventh-round pick and a 2024 conditional fourth-round pick that could de-escalate to a fifth-round pick if certain statistical marks are not met. So I'm guessing that's just yardages or catches or.
There's a lot of irony with this deal, given the fact that the Vikings front office, they were laughing in the face of the Eagles for taking Reagor ahead of Jefferson in that draft. And they were like, they seriously took Reagor instead of Jefferson. They pretty much ran up there to take Jefferson. So now they're both there. And obviously a guy that needs a change of scenery. And the Eagles can get rid of him now because they have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And the Eagles have like one of the most underrated rosters in the league, I think. A lot of depth and a lot of very good starters.
Yeah, I think their just issue is no one really knows what Hurts can really do.
Yeah, and the big thing for them is they have a good team around them right now and a division that's very winnable. Like I think the Eagles, I haven't decided who I'm going to pick in the divisional winners, which I'm sure we'll do next week, but I almost lean towards the Eagles to win the NFC East.
My one thing I had for this. It's a stat line. Here's Daniel Jones, and then there's another quarterback. Record 12-25 versus record 23-15. Completion percentage 63, completion percentage 60. Pass rush yards per game 247 to 249. Pass touchdowns, interceptions 45 to 29, 51 to 28. Who do you think? Well, you know Daniel Jones is the 12-25 record.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think the record is of the 23-15? There's the less completion percentage, only 2 more pass rush yards a game, and 6 more touchdowns and 1 less pick.
Kyler Murray?
Josh Allen.
Okay. I was close, almost.
And just surprising, like it's a surprising stat other than the record on how close their stats are. But I mean, Daniel Jones, his line has been horrible, and I think every year he's had a different coordinator and head coach.
Yep. They're ruining him. They know it.
Fantasy football, I think, will know more by next week, especially since now the rosters are cut down to the 53-man rosters.
Yep, we will.
I have my drafts Monday. When's yours?
Well, I already had mine last weekend, but I feel like we should reveal our teams at the same time.
Gotcha.
And we will do that next week. So let's go over to golf, where the PGA Tour season has come to a close.
Yeah, the Tour Championship ended last weekend. Surprising winner came out of nowhere after like day 2. He was like in the middle of the pack. Rory McIlroy shot 21 under, won $18 million.
Well, for the guy who's defended the PGA Tour the most, and I'm sure they love this, one of their Scheffler or Rory winning is probably best case for the PGA Tour, because Rory, obviously everything about him this season, that would be a good story for the PGA Tour. And then Scheffler just dominating the entire season, that would be another one. But the biggest thing that comes out of this after Rory winning is who's leaving for LIV, and that's always a big story. And I suppose that, the big name that they're losing is Cameron Smith. Disappointing. It's a player that could probably become a superstar. Yeah, you got him gone, Harold Varner gone, Joaquin Niemann, Mark Leishman, a couple others that I forget, but 2 players that were very much considering it that decided to stay, Hideki Matsuyama and Cameron Young. So a good thing there, but Cam Smith's a big, big loss for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I'd say him and Niemann are the biggest losses out of that group.
Niemann had a good season, won at Riviera, and I don't know. Something's got to give with this eventually, I'm sure. But
it's surprising after the PGA Tour came out and said that they were raising the money and everything.
Well, I think that's a big reason why Cameron Young stayed. He pretty much said as much. The Tiger and Rory meeting at the BMW a couple weeks ago was a big deal for a lot of guys. So, yeah, I don't know. It's something's gonna give though, I'm sure.
And then in the next tournament, September 15th through the 18th, the Fortinet Championship, defending champion Ethan's guy, Max Homa.
Yep.
At Silverado Resort and Spa, North Course, Napa. I did have one thing on this I forgot to mention. It was during the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Yeah, Brian Harmon made 2 hole-in-ones in the same round. He aced 3 and 14.
That seems like a rarity.
I mean, 12,500 to 1, the odds of making a hole-in-one, and he did it twice in the same round.
That's kind of annoying as someone who plays golf.
And never have hit a hole-in-one, and this guy does it twice in one PGA round.
Yeah, I think I've only been close one time, and that was a ball that I couldn't even see in the air. When I drove up there, it was like an inch away, but I haven't been that close other than that. So, all right, college basketball.
The one thing I had on this was Duke's Derek Whitehead underwent surgery on a foot fracture. He had a surgery Tuesday to repair a fracture on his right foot on an injury he sustained Monday during a team workout. He will begin rehab immediately and expects to play this fall. And I was trying to look up their schedule, and the only game it shows is the Ohio State game, November 30th. But I saw other ones November 13th. So don't they always start first week in November?
Yeah, I think they start a little bit before Veterans Day this year.
So he's basically got like 2 months to rehab and get ready for.
Yeah, and he could probably miss the first few games anyway.
Well, yeah, because if it gets back to normal scheduling, the first like 3 or 4 games are normally your.
Well, I think they'll probably have the one against Kentucky or Kansas or whatever to start, and then after that.
Yeah, maybe one of those.
Yeah. All right. MLB.
Pujols hits his 694th homer off of his 450th pitcher.
Which passed Barry Bonds. Seems like a fairly significant thing. Now he's only 2 away from tying Alex Rodriguez and 3 away from passing him. So getting close.
Yeah, and then I think so they said something during the broadcast. It was something about like Bagwell had like 450 home runs, and it was only off. It was a weird number of pitchers. Or my baseball ones were Pittsburgh's rookie O'Neal Cruz. He ripped a 122.4 mile per hour line drive, the hardest hit ball in StatCast era.
Too bad his OPS is like 630.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a good rookie year. And the fact he's 6'7" as a shortstop. And he's what? He's had like the hardest thrown ball in MLB too?
I think so, yeah.
And then my other one, August 29, 2001, Serena Williams won the U.S. Open. Albert Pujols hits a home run. Vlad Guerrero Sr., Craig Biggio, and Dante Bichette all recorded a hit. August 29, 2022, Serena Williams wins at the U.S. Open. Albert Pujols hits a home run. Vlad Guerrero Jr., Kevin Biggio, and Bo Bichette all record a hit.
Well, that's a viral stat, is what we call that.
21 years to the date. They all do the same thing they did. Or, I mean, the other 3 was the 3 kids of the first 3.
Yeah, that's a viral stat. That's a stat that was going all around the other night. So there you go. Tony La Russa, manager of the White Sox, out indefinitely, I believe, with a heart issue. So best wishes to him. The White Sox not having a good season. I don't think he'll be back there next year, but either way.
Yeah, the one thing I saw this is like they didn't know. It was like an hour before their game. he had met with all the reporters and everything, and then left. And next thing you know, he's in Arizona at his personal physician's.
Yeah. The Rays placed their ace left-handed pitcher Shane McClanahan on the 15-day IL with a shoulder impingement, left shoulder, obviously. So they better have him back for the stretch run in the postseason, or they're going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. Players of the week.
Yep.
Who do you got?
Guardians third baseman Jose Ramirez. He was 7 for 22, 5 runs scored, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 3 walks.
I went back and forth. I had Randy Rosarena on there. I changed it to the Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts. 9 for 22, 7 runs, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 3 walks.
Mookie Betts and the Dodgers, they lost tonight while we're recording this, but that team is, I would say, ridiculous. I believe they're 90-39. So,
but I mean, they lost Bueller, right? And then Gonsolin got hurt.
Yeah, but Kershaw's back, and I think, I believe that
the redhead we talked about is supposed to be coming back too, right?
May, yeah, he should be back soon if he's not already. So I think he is back. But real quick before we switch to college football, important to note how good the United States World Baseball Classic team looks for next season, or for next year, I should say, coming off of winning it a few years ago. This team is pretty good. So right now you have catcher JT Realmuto, first base Paul Goldschmidt, second base Trevor Story, shortstop Trey Turner, third base Nolan Arenado, left field we'll say Bryce Harper, center field we'll say Mike Trout, right field we'll say Mookie Betts, and then they also have Will Smith, the catcher from the Dodgers, Tim Anderson, Cedric Mullins, Pete Alonso, and Kyle Tucker. So that's their roster without any pitching yet. And the pitching, you have guys like Verlander available, who got hurt, by the way. You have Corbin Burns, Max Scherzer, those types available. So this team has the chance to become the baseball version of the dream team if they can get the right pitching. So just want to note that. I think they're going to dominate. That'll be next year. So
it'd be nice to see. I was waiting for you to say like the backup catcher was going to be the dude from the Orioles, the young guy,
Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
Still time if he wants to, sit in the dugout, hang out. But Will Smith also very
I did
good.
see between every half inning, he meets his pitcher at the foul line.
Interesting. Is he saying something?
I don't know. Like he has to throw the ball to third. He throws it out to the mound. He walks to the pitcher, meets him at the foul line.
Interesting.
Maybe they're discussing how what they called and everything that inning or what.
Yeah, it could be. Nothing in the NHL this week. Maybe there'll be something next week. College football is where we go now. The top 25, number 1, Alabama, 2, Ohio State, 3, Georgia, 4, Clemson, 5, Notre Dame.
6, Texas A&M, 7, Utah, 8, Michigan, 9, Oklahoma, 10, Baylor.
11, Oregon, 12, Oklahoma State, 13, North Carolina State, 14, USC, and 15, Michigan State.
16, Miami, 17, Pittsburgh, 18, Wisconsin, 19, Arkansas, 20, Kentucky.
And you have 21, Ole Miss, 22, Wake Forest, 23, Cincinnati, 24, Houston, and 25, BYU, a.k.a. Brigham Young University.
And then Fox and ESPN open TV talks with the Big 12.
Yeah, ESPN, I believe, is getting the SEC after losing the Big Ten. So that's significant. And you obviously have Fox as a huge player in college football. So this isn't surprising at all. But what is the Big 12 going to be a couple years from now? Because Oklahoma and Texas are out the door by then. And you're probably going to be seeing a lot of the lower level teams from the Pac-12 or other conferences go there. Like I believe BYU's headed there, Cincinnati, UCF. I can see some of the bottom level teams in the Pac-12 that don't go to the Big Ten, because I think the Big Ten is going to have 20 teams within the next few years. Like, they're going to take Utah, they're going to take Oregon, they're going to take Washington, they're probably going to try to take Notre Dame. So
you think Utah doesn't go into the Big 12 over the Big 10?
I think if Utah's got a chance to go into the Big Ten, they're going to do it. So we'll see.
Them being number 7, I don't remember them being that big of a standout last year. So
well, I remember because they destroyed Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, and then they had a bowl game last year. I'm trying to remember who the hell they play. Last year they were in the Rose Bowl. They had that insane Rose Bowl game against Ohio State. They lost 48-45. So, yeah, they were good. They're kind of a boring good, though. They're not they don't really have anybody that is a household name.
Yeah.
That's usually how it is with them. All right, let's do the picks.
Yeah, which, I mean, we have 13 picks this week. Next week we'll have 21 total picks. So betting is picking up now.
Yeah, without golf for a couple weeks, baseball not much longer, but still a couple months. And
I mean, not much longer too. We'll have college basketball thrown in. We'll have even more picks.
NBA, NHL.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a time of the year like October, November where we just make a ton of picks every week. So that'll be a big part. I went 3-4 last week. I went 1-4 Major League Baseball. I think I've won like 4 or 5 Major League Baseball picks in the last 3 weeks. It's been really, really bad. My golf, I had Max Homa top 10. He finished tied for 5th, and I had Rory winning, so I got that.
I went 5-0. Just won all 5 baseball games.
Yeah. Well, at
golfers,
least
I had Finau top 5. He finished 9th. I had Cantlay to win. He tied 7th. And then I had Morikawa for top 10. He tied for 21st.
At least somebody here knows how to win baseball picks. I'm not right now.
I mean, I recorded last week on vacation, and my brother came down, and I was showing my picks, and I'm like, I've been hot. I'm like, look at these baseball picks. You want to start taking the bets, start doing them. And he should have taken all of them last week because he would have, if he parlayed those games and went 5-0, would have won a lot of hooch.
I might have to do a parlay with my 5 picks at some point just to try to get a spark. But
or you're going to take my picks.
I could. Let's do the MLB picks.
I went with the A's plus 100 over the Nationals. The Mets plus 120 over the Dodgers. Kershaw is pitching for the Dodgers in that game tomorrow. The Guardians minus 180 over the Orioles. The Red Sox minus 165 over the Rangers. And Seattle minus 155 over the Tigers.
All right, some head-to-head here a little bit. Dodgers minus 140 at the Mets. Mariners minus 155 at the Tigers. Orioles plus 155 at the Guardians. Rangers plus 140 at the Red Sox. And Nationals minus 140 against the A's. So
you went head-to-head on every game?
Did you pick the Mariners or the Tigers?
The Mariners.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh, so 4 out of 5 you picked the opposite.
You picked the Guardians?
Yeah.
You picked the Red Sox?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, 4 out of the 5. All right, this will be a big week, I guess.
So now we'll know who you should parlay on.
I suppose. All
right. There was one other game we could have bet on, but the odds were like -4.
Yeah, it was the oh man, who was it?
I'm looking up. It's the late game tomorrow.
I don't even.
The Braves-Rockies game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the Braves minus 430. I was like, yeah, I don't think we need to bet on that.
All right. So now we have, I guess what they call an extension of week 1, because there were games last week, which I think everybody calls that week 0.
Yeah, because there wasn't. I mean, it was only a couple teams that played.
Yeah, there was the only game of any note was Northwestern Nebraska and Ireland, which, Nebraska typical choke.
Like North Carolina played a gimme game, Florida played a gimme game,
Illinois,
or Florida State played a gimme game.
Illinois, a football powerhouse. They played a gimme game.
Who'd they play?
Wyoming,
Oh, I didn't see that one. I
38
saw that they were
38
playing.
6.
So they were playing Indiana this week, and Indiana was like a 1-point favorite.
That's a good sign for Illinois. If they can be a road dog of only 1 or 2 points in the Big Ten, I think that's a big deal against an Indiana team that's probably not that bad. So, all right, Power 5 conference games. What do you got?
For the ACC, I took NC State minus 11.5 over East Carolina.
I have Pitt minus 7.5 against West Virginia.
That should be a good game.
Yeah, I think that's tomorrow.
I
believe.
I mean, they had a decent team last year, and the only notable guy I know they lost was Pickett. Did they lose?
They bring in Keaton Slovis, the quarterback transfer from USC.
But did they lose any receivers or running backs or anything?
They did lose Jordan Addison to USC, I believe, who's one of the best receivers in the country. Other than that, 7.5-point favorite. I don't think West Virginia is that good anyway, so I'm going to take it.
So they bring in a quarterback from USC, and then they lose their top receiver to USC.
Pretty much,
Makes sense. The Big Ten, I took New Mexico State plus 35.5 versus Minnesota.
New Mexico State must be really bad. I'm going to throw one at the wall here, take Rutgers plus 7 at Boston College. I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, I was trying to look at some of the spreads. I mean, there were a lot of these games with no spreads because they were like the gimme games. Big 12, I took TCU minus 13.5 over Colorado.
Oklahoma minus 31 against UTEP.
Yeah, like one of those. I tried staying away from.
I'm taking
not saying it's a bad pick. Pac-12, I took Utah minus 3 over Florida.
UCLA minus 23.5 against Bowling Green.
SEC, LSU minus 3 over Florida State.
I'll take Florida plus 3 against Utah. Why not?
And then we had our 3 primetime games. We got number 11 Oregon at number 3 Georgia. Georgia's a 17-point favorite.
I'll take Oregon plus 17.
That's where I was leaning. I'm taking Oregon. Number 23 Cincinnati at number 19 Arkansas. Arkansas is a 6.5-point favorite.
I will roll with the Bearcats plus 6.5.
I'm going to go with the Woo Pig Suey. And then lastly, big week 1 matchup here. Number 5 Notre Dame at number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State 17-point favorite.
Ohio State, disappointing season last year. We still won the Rose Bowl, but still a disappointing season. They're going to come out with a bang. A lot of returning players. Ohio State minus 17.
They lost 2 receivers, but they always that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They always have another standout waiting. It's like
their quarterback's back and their running back's back.
Alabama has, their running backs and their receivers every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way in Ohio State.
Ohio State's number 5 last year could be their number 1 this year, or recruiting. It's always like that. So
was Ohio State? Was it Ohio State that lost the running back?
They had an injury, but it was like their second string running back.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Who'd you say you took in this?
Ohio State minus 17.
That is who I had to pick as well.
All right.
Good week 1 matchup there, 2 versus 5 to start it off.
Yeah, and Oregon, Georgia should be interesting. All 3 of those games should be interesting, and there's a couple other ones that'll be interesting as well. I think Florida State, LSU. I think Utah, Florida. A lot of interesting, intriguing games, much better than last week. So that was expected, and we'll talk about all of that next week and a little bit more as we are done with this one. So number 76 coming your way in September. What's the next Wednesday? September
7th.
Yeah, so we'll see you next
day after my birthday.
There you go. And we will see you next week for number 76.
Deuces.